Remember when we had cable and some random movie would pop up there with a bikini-clad girl wielding a bazooka on her shoulder? This cinema became a complete genre, and Andy Sidaris was the mastermind behind it. Sidaris is appropriately credited for his works. Each movie that emerged from his cinematic universe had become a cult classic. But there's a reason behind the cult following. Not every day does a film promise bullets, bombs, and babes and delivers. When Sidaris stopped making these films, there were films from across the world that continued his legacy and became a part of this entire cinema genre. Let's go through Andy Sidaris' work in the bullets, bombs, and babes and other films that perfectly fit into this genre. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin.
Donna, take him out!
Hard Ticket to Hawaii, 1987. We're probably jumping right into the list with this one. Let me describe this scene that probably changed cinema forever. As the heroes drive in the streets of Hawaii on a Jeep, they see this skateboarder doing tricks passing them by. They joke about him, and it turns out that this skateboarder is no random person. He is an assassin. The skateboarder draws a gun and a blow-up doll from his car following them. Don't ask why there's a blow-up doll with him, even though it's probably to cover the weapon he was wielding. He runs into our heroes again, and this time he shoots the Jeep on the wheels and hits the driver. Our hero stops the car, pulls out a bazooka from the Jeep, and hits the skateboarder, which launches the assassin and his blow-up doll into the air. Then he launches a missile right at the assassin, who explodes in the air. Finally, the hero aims another missile at the doll, and it also bursts into flames in the air. Hard Ticket to Hawaii sets up a universe of films that will spawn many sequels with certain similarities that will be repeated and characters that will be reprised but with different actors. This film introduces us to the Agency, an organization combating crime secretively including the bombs and explosions that are pretty regular here. The two agents, Donna and Tareen, played by Donna Spear and Hope Marie Carlton, will be regulars in the franchise. The agents team up with some other agents to uncover a drug smuggling operation while coming across a variety of hurdles, including a deadly snake that has been infected by toxins from cancer-infested rats. Now that's something you don't get to see every day. If the scene that we mentioned isn't setting an example of cinema's crazy possibilities, then what could be? Oh, you want more? Well, we aren't going to tell you about the Frisbee scene, but yes, if we talk about Hard Ticket to Hawaii, we cannot miss the number of times breasts pop up in the movie. Because there are times when they are not even relevant to the plot. It is wild to imagine that singer Ron Moss did not get more projects like this because he perfectly fits into this crazy, absurd ride. Give it a watch before another YouTube channel or a podcast tells you why this movie is so bad that it's good. Malibu Express, 1985. Another action ride from Andy Sidaris, Malibu Express is a typical entry into this crazy genre. It features Darby Hinton as a private investigator tasked with protecting a rich girl. But things go wild when he realizes that he is a target after discovering a secret transaction between the Russians and some spies trying to sell computer technology. Surprisingly, Hugh Hefner wanted to produce the movie as it featured many hot women in some somewhat crazy sequences. Still, Hefner backed out, realizing there wouldn't be any time to explore a proper romantic arc. Andy Sidaris is very clear about the women in his film, as they are supposed to shoot, sweat, and then kick some more ass. Unlike the other Sidaris films, this one has a plot if you look for it, but then focus shifts away from the plot very soon and we get into the world of bullets, bombs, and babes. Picasso Trigger, 1988. Picasso Trigger, yes, that's the name of another Sidaris entry, and it is the sequel to Hard Ticket to Hawaii. Again, Hard Ticket to Hawaii needed a sequel, but if you look closely enough, there are a lot of continuity elements, which is surprising in a Sidaris film. Donna and Tareen from the Hard Ticket to Hawaii are back, and this time they're all set to stop a criminal mastermind while having fun and joining a team of butch dudes. Even though there's choppy acting and a bizarre plot, one thing that the film does not hold back from is the crazy and innovative ways to make an explosion. A couple of goons use a remote-control plane to blast the boat, and the plane hits the ship, and it explodes. The professor hands out weapons to our heroes, which include include an explosive boomerang and a multi-purpose crutch. This entry to the franchise also introduces us to Nicole Justin, another agent from the agency, played by Roberta Vasquez here. Apart from all the crazy sex scenes, sexual innuendos, and conveniently placed nudity, there are times when it feels like things are just happening. If you're buying a watch next time, don't forget to check out the crazy lighter watch from this film. Savage Beach, 1989. Donna and Tareen are back once more. This time they're up for another crazy mission involving retrieving a vaccine. Since it cannot be as simple as that, they come across an individual looking for some gold that was lost during World War II. You thought bombs were enough in this franchise? Wait till you see the arrows with explosive tips. Wait till you see the samurais and ninjas who show up this time around when the girls crash land into the Philippines. Again, as an absolute surprise amid the nudity and bombs going off here and there, some plot is sprinkled, making this one an exciting watch. Don't be fooled by the fact that there is a plot because the supermodels turned actors are still very much trying their best to act here. This one might be a good pick if you like Rambo and Die Hard and want something lighter with quite the random nudity. Sadly, Sedaris didn't feature any of his iconic remote control bombs in this one, but there still be bombs and explosions. Meanwhile, a significant plot detail is the change in the agency's name, now called the Lethal, which stands for Legion to ensure total harmony and the law. Guns, 1990. Just when you thought you were missing the miniaturized bombs from the various other Sedaris movies, he returns with a banger. But this time there is less nudity compared to the previous films, proving certain aspects of Sedaris' approach to filmmaking. We see our female agents Donna and Nicole go against gunrunner Juan Degas, also known as Jack of Diamonds, played by Eric Estrada, and attack his base of operations on an island in Hawaii. Fans of the latest Fallout series might identify Estrada for his tiny cameo, but other fans will surely remember him for the beloved show Chips. Now, the movie's title is Guns, and yes, it does feature some heavy artillery, even the rocket launcher with its 4 barrels, which feels like something that must be available in every store by now. The tiny steamboat with a bomb appears and gets to the usual business of sneakily blowing up stuff again. Even though these movies were considered B-grade entries, they did mark the debut of some significant stars, with a very young Danny Trejo appearing in the character of Tong. Donna Spear gets some character background with insight about her parents and mother, who somehow seems younger than her. This one is a decent entry into this cinematic universe's entertaining league of films. Do or Die, 1991. In a twist of events, this franchise continues to surprise viewers, with Eric Estrada appearing as a hero this time. Regular viewers can point out numerous times when this has happened in the franchise, but yes, Do or Die sticks to the title, as the villain Kane puts some super assassins after Donna and Nicole because they attacked his organization. But Donna and Nicole are prepared to face them, and that too, quite literally, because Nicole takes down a helicopter with a missile launcher walking stick. But wait, who is playing this character, the villain? In his worst performance ever, Pat Morita takes on the role of the villain Kane, and to be very honest, at times, he is trying his best with what he has. True fans will only remember him for the Karate Kid until they come across his sex scene in this one something that can scar you. In the end, we get some kind of Blofeld-like ending for Kane, as he is not arrested, and the organization decides to keep his criminal activities under observation. This narrative convinces you that Sedaris had it all planned, and he wasn't just throwing around random stories about bombs and babes. But if you're following the franchise, don't forget about Kane, because he will return soon. Hard Hunted, 1992. Andy Sedaris worked on the Kane arc, and it seems he worked too hard on it because a younger white actor now replaces Pat Morita without any explanation. Kane has most of the arc here, as his Jade Buddha figurine, which is supposed to be inexpensive, gets taken by the agency because it has a nuclear weapon hidden inside it. Finally, Donna and Nicole get it off the enemy's hands, but Kane isn't going to go easy on this duo, as she hires Raven, a goon with a helicopter who continues to shoot them. And this sequence goes on for quite a while until you forget the film's plot. Do you want explosions? Donna gets kidnapped by Kane's goons and is on an aircraft. When she decides to fight them, she drops a hand grenade inside and jumps off. What does the pilot do in reaction to this altercation? He says, "Get rid of that grenade, you crazy bitch." All 7 female cast members get a chance to go topless very conveniently, even though the plot might get in the way of that. In terms of significant weapon, we witness Raven's helicopter explode into bits at the end of the film. Compared to the other entries, this one feels like a very tired entry into the franchise and doesn't have the ideal blend of every element in a usual Sedaris film. Fit to Kill 1993. Remote-controlled helicopters and sexual innuendos come together here as we see Kane and the agency's people go for this supposed exquisite diamond. You wonder why? According to a story that looks pretty complicated but is paper thin, it was involved with the Second World War. But you better be prepared to remember this story because amidst the multiple sex scenes and heavy nudity, the story will play an essential role. Every time you think the people in the film are in trouble, they pop out a remote-controlled helicopter, which is supposed to be a solution, and yes, no one can deny that these helicopters gave one hell of a good performance in the end. A battle between remote-controlled helicopters goes on for quite some time until the enemy helicopter is blown to pieces. But that's not the end, since the enemy, which was a girl named Blue Steel, takes out a gun, shoots the agency's person controlling their helicopter and hits him. So Donna arrives, she takes control of the helicopter and launches a missile straight towards Blue Steel's boat and kills her. In other words, the agency's heavy artillery remote-control helicopter was supposed to be the Chekhov's gun, and this one because it comes up very early in the film and then appears right at the end. Yes, this entry is somewhat okay compared to the previous entries, but it is still worth a watch. Enemy Gold 1994. This time, Sedaris took a backseat and allowed his son to direct the next entry into this crazy collection of movies. We find federal agents coming across stolen gold that can be traced back to the Civil War, but that's not all, otherwise we would be missing the espionage bits here, and that's why a drug lord hires a hitwoman to kill these agents. One of the first things we notice here is that even though the film has the same amount of sex put forward for the audience as the previous entries, Andy Sedaris' work has a charm that is completely missing from this entry. If you think the people behind these movies don't take it seriously, you would be shocked to see the Civil War reenactment in the opening sequence. Bizarrely, it sticks out of the rest of the film like a sore thumb, and you're left wondering if you picked the wrong movie. Even though it is connected to the other film, there are very vague references to the organization of the federal agents. At the same time, fresh faces are taking on significant roles. The Dallas Connection 1994. When you look for the genre for this one, it says comedy, drama, suspense, and action. At some points, these genres are pretty literally mentioned in the film, and at other points we have a director trying to drag and pull the plot somehow to fill the 90-minute mark that his father has set for these films. Now, the plot sounds like something you would have watched in a Sunday morning cartoon, as the agency, with a different name this time, hires a couple of agents to save some scientists working on a state-of-the-art weapon tracking device. Julie Strain returns, this time as one of the head assassins targeting the scientists. Her name is Black Widow, and Julie K. Smith's Cobra assists her. Fun fact, Strain helped Julie K. Smith get her first major Sedaris project. Julie K. Smith gets into the role perfectly by delivering the usual nudity, along with some action while delivering dialogues and manner that makes you wonder if any of them ever planned to become an actor. However, fans were disappointed by this entry because it once again missed the charm that Andy brought to the original entries. Still, the one redeeming factor was the beautiful ladies that it featured. So we can say that the prodigal son Christian Sedaris worked hard on one aspect of the franchise his father built with his own hands. Day of the Warrior 1996. With a bad reception of the past few entries, Andy Sedaris decided to take matters into his own hands and return to the role of writer and director for this one. But the question is, does it redeem the franchise? No. It's probably the worst of the entries into the franchise. He features the villain warrior played by Marcus Bagwell, who has gone entirely methodically into his character, even responding only when he is called warrior to give a terrible performance. But then, what are we expecting? After all, a Sedaris veteran playing an Elvis impersonator? Yes, we should have mentioned the wide variety of roles that Gerald Okamura played in these movies. Still, his entry as an Elvis impersonator is unique, and it comes out of nowhere to shake you up. But the fight sequences gave us this fantastic and unrequired wrestling sequence that does not help the action. The only scene that is somehow enjoyable because you cannot get it anywhere else is when one of the henchwomen shoots an owl with a shotgun. Yes, you heard it right. She gets bothered by it and she just shoots it with a shotgun. What was Sedaris thinking? He will shoot his son's attempts with a shotgun by making a return to the director's seat, and it will change everything. Lethal Ladies return to Savage Beach 1998. Okay, you are in a gunfight with one individual and must put them down to continue your mission. And this individual is not just standing at the same place, but slowly getting closer, and he has got ammunition to kill you. What would you do? If it's a Sedaris film, you use a remote-controlled car and blast your singular opponent into pieces. Julie Strain is now a protagonist in a plot that attempts to connect all the entries to the franchise together and gives us a complicated mess of something that does not even come close to what it was trying to do. You would think that a film focused on putting together all the dots spread throughout multiple movies might be entertaining, but it's completely lackluster. The plot revolves around a disc containing the location of a hidden treasure, and our favorite agents have to find it before the enemy does. We do get a concise plot for the Savage Beach film, and it is interesting because it might sound pretty different from what you might have witnessed, as some elements are skipped. The sad thing about this final entry to the franchise is that over time, you realize how stupid the ninjas must be for being beaten up even when they're making sneak attacks. They should join the agency, considering the villains from previous entries somehow keep doing that. They probably realize that it's a worthless attempt to become a villain in this world where sex and nudity wins over anything else. Now, we will jump into the world of films that fit into the genre of bullets, bombs, and babes, even though Andy Sedaris didn't have any role to play with them. You might notice that the three essential aspects of the films are covered here, which clearly fulfills the criteria needed to fit into this genre. Barb Wire, 1996. Pamela Anderson makes a significant addition to her film career with this entry, where she plays a character different from her previous entry, Raw Justice. Last time, we saw her play a stripper, but this time around, it seems she is a stripper who is also a mercenary and a bounty hunter named Barbara Barb Wire Kopetsky. The very first mission we witness is when she saves a little girl from a strip club disguised as a stripper. That makes sense, so wait and listen to the rest of the plot. Barb Wire is roped into a government plot and a now fascist regime, and she reunites with her ex-lover played by Boba Fett star Temuera Morrison, a guerrilla fighter. What is this movie with some respectable actors doing in this list of absolutely mad action cinemas with babes and bombs? Well, Barb Wire is a good film considering the action it delivers and its well-established plot. However, the problem arises when veteran critics like Roger Ebert mention Casablanca in leagues with this film, and people jump to conclusions. Pamela Anderson tries to pull off this role in a self-aware manner, but the delivery makes sure all the action and the jokes land flat on the face. Barb Wire will make a good choice if you're up for some excellent action without overthinking the performances. Lady Terminator, 1988. No, this is no way related to the Terminator film that fans have wanted over the years, but it is considered a mockbuster of the James Cameron film Terminator. Directed by Tiyut Bialil, also known as Yalil Jackson, Lady Terminator follows the story of a young anthropology student whom an ancient serpent queen takes over, leading to a murderous rampage. So there are no time-traveling robots here, but yes, there is a woman who somehow becomes robotic under possession and goes to kill the descendant of the man who had tried to stop this serpent queen. Why does this story make it into the list of bullets, bombs, and babes? Well, the Serpent Queen is a sex goddess, and she cursed the great-granddaughter of the man who stopped her from devouring his penis. Also, the detective who figured out the rampage hooks up with a great-granddaughter in a forest. This entry has plot differences from the previous entries and some relatively okay action sequences with laughable dialogues. The genre may have improved more than we expected, but the marketing department effectively sold it as a female version of the Terminator. Cherry 2000, 1987. Cherry 2000 is one of those movies that capitalized on the entire fembot thing that happened around the 80s and 90s in the cinemas. While other movies gave some purpose to these fembots, Cherry 2000 started with the idea that the Cherry 2000 robots are primarily there to serve as wives who serve their masters in every way, including sex. So this one time when Pamela Gidley's Cherry bot start to malfunction when David Andrews' Sam Treadwell has sex with her in a puddle of water, he decides to get back the same model, and he will go to any end for that purpose. Along with Melanie Griffith's Edith, He goes to find another Cherry 2000 model, and they both end up getting on a journey during which he falls for Edith, true love this time, but that depends on how you define true love, as in this Mad Max version of a post-apocalyptic world. Melanie Griffith served her part with a good performance in this film, which felt like it depended heavily on robots and human sex. Even the marketing department depended on her when they released the movie around the same time as her Oscar-nominated performance in 1988's Working Girl. Fans might also notice an appearance from Lawrence Fishburne here as the Glue Glue lawyer. Yes, this was from his early days, and it does not change your respect for him based on his other futuristic projects. The movie pays tribute to the genre that gave this movie its origin, as the robots from Forbidden Planet and the much beloved The Day the Earth Stood Still make a random appearance. Angel 3, The Final Chapter, 1988. The films that adhere to this trilogy are so loosely connected that we can focus on this one instead of jumping into the others and taking a step-by-step approach. With each film having a different actor taking on the mantle of Angel, this time around we see a fresh face. Mitzi captures take on Angel as she must track down the people who are targeting his sister. She finds out about information passed on by her mother who had abandoned her. The mom doesn't get a chance to make a strong appearance considering she is killed very early in the film. Even though it's not the best story, the Angel trilogy does make for an exciting take on the teenage prostitution theme. Each story examines a different aspect, with the action playing a significant part. This time, we get something close to a low-budget exploitation film, with genre veteran Richard Roundtree appearing. Nudity is present throughout the movie, but fans of the trilogy didn't enjoy Capture's take on the role, considering the previous entry saw Betsy Russell give her version of Angel. Virgins from Hell, 1987. If Sidaris was given action films with sex filled onto them, then this Indonesian film just took those elements and probably made the best Indonesian exploitation film. Two sisters decide to take on an evil person as he is responsible for killing their family. And what does this evil person do in his base of operations? Torture women in the most ruthless manner ever. Sometimes it might feel like what you're watching cannot be accurate, even though it often adheres to the formulas Sidaris laid out in his features. For example, one of the sisters, Sheila, who is also the leader of a biker gang, decides to go undercover as a prostitute to execute her plan. But on the larger sense of things, something these movies hardly focus on, becoming a prostitute wasn't required apart from providing some nudity and sex scenes. The prison where these women are tortured is crazy, and it does put the viewer off for quite a while, as the evil villain likes to have wild and kinky sex. Now, one thing that should not go uncredited is the variety of costumes these girls are wearing, as it just shows that someone put effort into the color schemes and making the girls appear as vixens. Apart from all these elements, one can be sure that the Indonesian film industry was not holding back and could be pitted against the Japanese Pinku films. Mankillers, 1987. Sticking to the theme of sexy women taking on enemies, Mankillers sees a CIA agent who is given the task of training a group of jailed women to take down a drug lord, with a twist being that his partner is ex-CIA herself. The film features cult actress Eddie Williams as the trainer for these women, and she does a pretty good impression of Lee Marvin's character from The Dirty Dozen, but there is hardly any nudity, which might be surprising considering it is in the leagues of the film that seem to depend entirely on the nudity of the significant characters who appear. There isn't much to offer in this film, and it can only be considered as a poor rendition of The Dirty Dozen, even though the poorly executed action sequences hardly make an impact. Big Bad Mama 2, 1987. The sequel was produced by the recently passed legend Roger Corman and directed by Jim Wynorski, and it doesn't seem to work like a sequel in terms of technical definition. In an approach that might sound like Bonnie and Clyde, except for the couple Angie Dickinson's mama decides to take her daughters on a crime spree when her husband is killed so that they can feed themselves. Mama plans to kidnap the crooked politicians to get even with them, but then the plot twists and wild elements take the film into the genre we are exploring. Typical elements of the genre that Sidaris first introduced sometimes appear, but they are not action fiesta-like. The Hitchcockian part where where Sedaris makes random cameos in his movies ends up happening here too, when Jim Wynorski makes 2 cameos. In one of them, he kills himself. For those of you who thought it was Angie Dickinson during the nude scenes, a then unknown Monique Gabrielle was her double. This film might be a snooze fest compared to the other entries, but it gets mentioned in the works of Corman, so fans of him should check this out. Angel Enforcers 1989. If you thought most of these films had over-the-top action sequences, then Hong Kong's entry to this genre with Angel Enforcers stands apart with its well-executed action. The premise is about female agents battling diamond thieves, but that story doesn't do anything good for this otherwise okay action film. Pan Young is in a pivotal role, and if you haven't heard of her, just know that she is in the leagues of Michelle Yeoh in terms of the best women in the martial arts cinema genre. When John Woo took Gun Fu, a mix of kung fu and guns, to the front with Chow Yun-fat, Pan Young made a minor introduction to the genre in her appearance in Angel Enforcers. Apart from the action, everything sticks out as a sore thumb, including the laughable plot and poorly executed dialogue. But Godfrey Ho did an excellent job with this one, and it feels like the genre that he would stick to in the future with great action. Marvelous Verdict. It is wild to imagine how the genre kind of evolved, and even though action sequences in these films were furious, some recent films don't hold back on that either. I mean, have you seen some of the random action films nowadays? The fact that it was difficult for Sedaris to create his works makes them an essential part of cinema history. It's not like they will get into the Criterion Collection, but some movies deserve a rewatch or recognition. After all, Michael Bay does seem to have had some influence from Sedaris' work. If you like our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.